I hope you're hungry because you're listening to Everybody Eats.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Everybody Eats podcast. It's your host, Bensky Belazaire. We're here with Edom XP on the line, and we have a really special guest today, Mr. Randy Cadely. Thank you very much for joining us today and being on today's episode. So before we get into that, make sure you follow us on all platforms. We're on Instagram, everybodyeats.pod. We're on TikTok, Everybody Eats Pod. Twitter, Everybody _Eats_. So we're on all those platforms. Check us out on YouTube. All the videos, all the episodes are up there. So check us out. We got nice, just a lot of videos, a lot of gems that we have coming out. So hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy throughout this time. You know, prayers up to all those who've been affected by the coronavirus. But on that note, let's go into today's episodes, getting rolling. So Randy, once again, thank you for coming all the way from Orlando, Florida, right? Or outside of Orlando, right? So how about you introduce yourself, who you are, where you from, what do you do, and then we'll get the episode rolling.
Sure. My name is Randy Cadely. I'm originally from New York, born in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up in Long Island, New York, and have been in Orlando, Florida for about 13 years now.
Okay.
Professionally, I'm a real estate investor. My real estate investing pertains large portion of wholesale real estate. I also own a few rental properties and I do flipping, so I do a little bit of everything. What originally got me interested in real estate was my father bought our house in Elmont, New York for $190,000, I believe, and we lived there for I think 4 or 5 years. Mind you, this is like 1999, 2000.
Yeah.
We lived there for about 5 or 6 years, something like that. And in that time, the house had appreciated from 190 to like 320. And he sold it and had, $100,000. And I'm like, and by that time, I'm in high school or whatever, but that's enough to get everybody's eyebrow up, right?
Yeah.
Get some attention. So I paid attention to it loosely at that point. Went to college. Got the bachelor's degree, did that, and I worked professionally as a respiratory therapist for about 6 years. But I'd always been interested in real estate, reading the books, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, listened to podcasts, and read articles online, and I'd always, again, been interested. So I finally took the next step and got my real estate license. Ended up getting a job with a local real estate investment company, and that's where I learned a lot about real estate and investing more specifically. And I just took off from there.
Got it. So one question I want to ask, you said you learned it from your father in the sense of, you sold the house and moved down to Florida. So would you say, or I would say rather, how would you say, I guess, like your upbringing, right? Because I know you're Haitian, right? So how would you say that your upbringing, or would you say like those experiences growing up, how has that shaped you in the sense of, I guess you said want to be a real estate agent, that kind of like inspired you, but like I guess like now that you're in the market, how would you say like your growth or your childhood helped shape some of the
Sure.
Yeah.
So growing up, my parents, like you said, are originally from Haiti. I didn't grow up poor.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with all the things that I wanted, right? I didn't grow up with all the things that I felt I needed at the time. And even in college, I'm like, man, there's got to be more. I remember one night specifically being at work, because I used to work the night shift, and I Googled how to become rich in America. How do the most successful people become rich in America? And every search that I did ended up in real estate. Real estate. And, I had that initial interest in real estate back when my father sold his first house and made the $100,000. I'm like, well, I got, I have the proof in my past experience, and all these articles are telling me, and all these books are telling me real estate's the path to wealth creation. So that kind of pushed me to the next step to say, you know what, I need to really bring this into my life. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, Edom, do you have any questions on your end?
None so far. Just when see how you got along your journey. But I mean, to add on to what you said, yeah, land doesn't depreciate ever, so it's pretty crazy how. I don't know what was the exact numbers you said he sold it at?
Yeah, he bought it for $190, and I know more than 300,000.
Yeah,
like 330, and I'm like, man, and the thing is in real estate investing, and once you get into it more long term, land always trends up. It does depreciate sometimes, right? And you do lose value, but it always trends up over the long term.
Yeah.
So I mean, you gotta love real estate. You just gotta learn the ins and outs and know what you're doing. If you can master those things, then making money becomes a lot less difficult.
Definitely. So that kind of leads into the next question, right? So, all right, you said you're a respiratory therapist, and now you're saying, let me go get my real estate license, right? So how was that transition? Because, you said you wanted to get into real estate, right? But now you're going from respiratory therapy to real estate. That's completely two different things, right? So how was that learning period of one, learning, getting all that information, getting that certificate? So, how was that transition in that process?
So getting the real estate license was not the hard part. Because at the end of the day, it's just like school, right? You study a couple books, and my goal was not to become a real estate agent. My goal was to become a real estate investor, and I figured, let me put myself in the world of real estate so that I can become a real estate investor.
Yeah.
I figured I'd be that much closer because I had read all the books and read all the articles, and it's like I can only learn so much from reading. It's time to start doing.
Yeah.
So I got the passed it. And I got the job at the investment company. Now, again, I was a respiratory therapist at the time. I did both jobs because I had bills that needed to be paid, and I know real estate, the income is not consistent.
Yeah.
You earn what you work for. So I worked both jobs for about a year and a half, learning about real estate investing, doing respiratory therapy at the same time, and eventually it started to click. What ended up happening down the line is that real estate investing company that I worked for ended up shutting down and moved their office to South Florida. So, now I'm here. I've gotten this real estate license. I worked for these guys for a year and a half, and now they pulled out. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I didn't have money, right? So I luckily I learned so much in the time that I worked for them about wholesale and real estate investing that I was able to start my own company with my business partner, and we took off from there. Just started wholesaling deals, and then you just scale from there.
Gotcha. So at this point, what were some of the mistakes that you made, or some of the early lessons? Because I know we hear it all the time, right? You learn through experience, So maybe if you could walk us through the first deal, or the first deal you remember, how was that like? Was there any things that you learned through that?
Sure. Lots with my first deal. So my first deal, sorry guys.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see me?
Yeah,
okay. My first deal in real estate, my business partner and I got this townhouse under contract for $58,000.
Okay.
And we ended up selling it to an investor for $62,000.
Okay.
$1,000. We got 58 to 62. And I guess the first lesson is knowing the numbers, because what was supposed to be a $4,000 deal ended up being a $250 deal.
Oh.
And that's because, and that's why it's so important to know what you're doing, because in real estate investing and wholesaling, there are assignments, which is one form of transaction, and then there's a double close, which is another form of transaction. They both lead to the same thing. It's both wholesale, but in double closing, you lose a lot of your profit in closing costs. So what we thought again was going to be $4,000 ended up being $250. Luckily, we had forethought enough. Obviously $250, that's not a lot to split around, right? But we took that $250 and rolled it right into marketing. Not a lot of marketing, but some marketing. But luckily, God was on our side. We sent out a couple of letters with the $250 and ended up pulling a $7,000 deal out of that.
Got it.
Yeah, and I made sure the paperwork was right that time.
Yeah.
So that we could walk away with 7,000. So, knowing the numbers and knowing how to structure the transaction, I would say, would be the biggest learning lessons that I learned early on.
Got it. So, if I'm interested, I don't know what the difference is between those two closings. So, could you briefly describe what the difference are between double? Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So let's say you want to buy my house, right? And for simplicity's sake, we use small numbers. Let's say you're buying my house for 5,000, right? And you want to sell it to your friend for 10. You can do that using two ways. You can sell your house to your friend with an assignment contract, or you can double close. A double close means you're actually buying the house from me for 5,000, then you're reselling it to your friend for 10.
Okay.
But in buying and selling the house, you're paying closing costs. You're paying doc stamps, you're paying title search fees, all that stuff. So it's eating into your profit when you double close, versus an assignment. When in an assignment, you're telling your friend, hey, I got this house for $5,000. Pay me $5,000, and I'll let you take my spot in the transaction. Right? So there are two ways to do that. If you can assign, always assign.
Yeah.
Right? It's cleaner, it's neater. The reason why somebody would not want to assign, or the only reason somebody doesn't want to assign it or prefer double closing, is that they're making so much money in the deal that they don't want their end buyer, your friend in this example, to know how much money they're making. Right? I've had double closings where I'm selling the house. I'm getting the house for $50,000, right? And I'm selling it for $90,000, right? So now, in an assignment contract that you follow, that person will be paying me $40,000 to buy this $50,000 house. You get what I'm saying? So the end buyer is going to have a problem with that, because it's like, you're selling me this house for $90,000, but I'm putting $40,000 in your pocket. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Versus when you're double closing, your end buyer never knows how much money you're making.
Buying it for.
You know what I'm saying? Because in a double closing, your end buyer, all he knows is that he's paying $90,000 for the house.
Yeah.
He doesn't think of $40,000 is going into the pocket.
Got it. Makes sense. Edom, do you have any questions?
Nah, he just answered it explaining the difference, because you had me all kinds of lost for a second.
So,
did you get it though? I
got it. I got it. With your very last, what you said about the 40,000 in his pocket. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I've had end buyers, investors say, no, forget this. I'm not going to put $40,000 in your pocket, for a $50,000 house. No way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put $40,000 in your pocket. I'm going to flip this house and make $30,000. You made more money in the deal than I have, and you did nothing.
Yeah.
And investors, that should not matter. Like, it shouldn't matter how much money you're making.
Everybody's in the game. You know what I mean? That's the game.
Sometimes, exactly, right. But at the end of the day, people get emotional, especially when it comes to money. So I do my best in curbing that by double closing when I need to, or signing when I need to.
Got it. So my thing, in an assignment, how do they know how much you purchased it for?
Typically, it would say it on the contract, depending on the contract that you have. But if you have the right contract and it doesn't show how much money you're making, they'll still see it on the closing statement. So on the day of the title company, they'll get the closing statement and it'll show the investor what he's paying for.
Yeah.
And part of what he's paying for is $40,000 that's going in your pocket.
Got it.
Versus in a double close, the only person he sees is you and him. Like, there's no other party, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no seller, I'm the seller. You're buying this house for me for $90,000. And you're still making, in that, if you double close, you probably make like $35,000. But it's all worth it to make sure the person's going to close and not going to get his feelings, in a bunch.
Got you. Okay. So essentially that double close is just like flipping. That's just between...
Double close, I guess that's a good way to say it. It's like flipping. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the assignment is more like a fee. Like, hey, I found a deal. Here's my money.
Got it. Okay.
typically assign when I'm making $5,000 or less, 5 to 10,000, depending on the size of the deal. Is typically when I would assign. But if I'm making like 20, 30,000, I'm double closing it every time because it's like so much money on the table. I'm not leaving an investor's emotions. I don't want that to jeopardize how much money I'm making. So.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell them, mind your business.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that, see how?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I actually had an investor. I had an investor of mine. I'll keep it short. I sold him a house, and it was a $20,000 assignment fee.
Okay.
$20,000 assignment fee, and I ended up listing the house for it, and I'm gonna make like $5,000 on that. And he looked back. This is the only way they'll find out, right? How much? If you're double closing, I ended up signing this one, but they can always find out how much you're making, even if you double close, if they check property records.
That's true. You can check online, right?
Yeah. Online, but most people don't do that, right? They have the house, they have enough that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But if they check the house, they'll see, hey, you made $20,000 on this house, and he saw that.
Yeah.
He saw that, and he wasn't too happy with me. But I'm like, hey, I have expenses, I have costs, I have a business I'm running, and I don't work for free. You know what I mean? Luckily, I had enough of a relationship with him where it wasn't that big of a deal. But again, people get emotional. So if you do a decent size spread on the deal, I wouldn't risk it. I would just double close.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's smart. Keeping emotions out of the whole thing, letting them not.
Exactly. Right.
It's just a little bit more work, but it's more like security a little bit.
Yeah. You were gonna make $30,000 on the deal, and now you're mad at me because I made 40. You're still making 30, but you're so busy looking at my pockets.
Yeah.
Right. So that again, that's why it's very important to know how to structure the transaction to make sure it goes as you want it to.
Got it. That makes sense. All right. So on that note, we'll wrap up the first segment. I think that was very informative. So we'll wrap this up. We'll go into our second segment where we'll do the quote of the day, and Edom has that for us. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Segment 2, Everybody Eats Podcast. We're here with Randy Cadely talking about real estate and wholesaling. So right now we're about to do the quote of the day, and Edom has that for us. So what do we got?
All right. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change.
Ooh. I like that. Any tips?
Be honest, you won't get it. It's another one of those.
Okay. One of them.
But,
who said it then?
I have the character's name from the show, but his name is Thomas Shelby in the show, and he's an actor. His name is Cillian Murphy. So he played if y'all seen the Batman movies, he played Scarecrow.
Okay.
Batman
Got it. Yeah, I don't know his name, but okay.
Inception, and he was in Dark Knight Rises. But right now he's in a show called Peaky Blinders. It's on Netflix. It's one of the shows I've kind of binged through during this time.
Gotcha.
I've been productive, don't worry.
It's good.
Got you. So could you say it one more time?
If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change.
Definitely. I mean that's I mean that goes into perspective, right? Perspective is everything. One thing that I've been been telling myself lately, especially during quarantine, is like just because something is hard doesn't mean it's impossible. And I think that that's helped change my perspective on anything that's related to say like the podcast, personal growth. It's like, all right, granted, this thing may be hard, but just because it's hard doesn't mean that I can't do it, right? Just because it's hard just means it's going to take a little bit. Like, if it's hard, that just means it's going to take a little bit more work, right? And then now it's just a matter of, what steps can you do or what steps can you take to fulfill in order to get that task done, right? If it's impossible, then there's no point in even trying or starting, right? But if it is possible, it's just hard. It's like, all right, once you realize you can do it, now you just have to break it down to steps on how you can do it and start tackling those steps. So that's just something I've been trying to tell myself a little bit lately. Like, instead of something hard and being like, let me not even try, it's like, all right, let me take a second to analyze and be like, hey, it's possible. Just break it down to something that's manageable. So So I like that.
Again, it's taking the emotion out of it, right? It's all, it almost is like saying it's hard is an emotional response, right? Like if you just take all that out of it and just, like you said, make the plan and do the plan. That's it.
Yeah.
Hard, whatever, how I feel about it, just throw all that out the window and just focus on what you have to do. You'll get to where you want to be eventually.
Yeah. Obviously, it takes time and things like that, but yeah,
Sure.
definitely. Once you take that emotional response of like, it's hard, I can't do
Oh
it.
my God, it's too much.
Yeah.
I've gotten that out the way.
Yeah.
Like you said, if it's achievable, then achieve it.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean? And the people that achieve it are the doers, the people who actually take action. So.
Yeah, definitely like that. Edom?
I kind of see that a little. I wouldn't. The way I view the quote, I wouldn't throw away the whole emotional response right away. I think it has to do with self-confidence and ambition. So I mean, if you tell yourself, "Hey, I can't do this," or I mean, if you look at something and instead of looking at all the cons and how hard it might be, and you look at the pros and everything, and you then can go and fit yourself in that puzzle and realize, see where you fit in and how you can go and attack this and make it work for you. But that's my take on it.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's like at the end of the day, it boils down to how bad do you want it. Because the way you feel, you feeling that it's hard. It's not like it's not a feeling worth having. It is what it is, right? It's hard, and that's very important. But repeating to yourself over and over again that it's hard is only going to make it more difficult.
That's true.
And it's like at some point you have to accept this is what it is. And luckily, it's possible for me to get from point A to point B, albeit it's going to be difficult, and I'm going to sweat, and I'm going to have stress. It's achievable as long as I follow the steps that I've laid out for myself.
It's letting go of that defeated attitude,
exactly.
letting that go from the jump. I know a lot of people who just
it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, and I don't want for a second, because I've struggled with it myself. And this goes for any goal that you have, whether it be professional or personal or whatever. There are going to be challenges and roadblocks, but it's the people who understand the steps they have to take and actually take it and push through are the ones who are going to achieve all the things that they want. So.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of makes me think back to, I don't know if you've been watching The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary.
I didn't get a chance to catch it.
Oh, okay. Every Sunday they've been showing it. Really, really good. Really, really good.
Really worth a watch.
Jordan, just like listening to Jordan and talking back of his mindset when he was in college and when he first got to the NBA, and listening to all his coaches say he the way he would increase his skill development was crazy, and it was kind of nuts because he was just always had that mindset he wants to be the best, no matter what's in front of him, who's better than him, what challenges, he's I want to be better, and he admitted he had a competitive problem, right? But that's allowed him to in terms of basketball skill, it's he just always wants to be better than the person next to him, so granted, they're saying when he first went to college, the first 2 weeks he wasn't the best player on his team. Right, but then they're after 2 weeks he just just trained crazy hard, and then he was in 2 weeks he was the best player on the team, right? And then it was just that yeah, exactly. It's that mindset of just I'm granted especially when it comes to sports, I'm sure it's crazy hard to increase your skill like that, but it's don't focus on the problem, but focus on okay, this is what I'm going to do to solve it, this is what I'm going to do to achieve, this is what I'm going to do to overcome. Once you have that
ambition,
that ambition,
change the way you look at stuff.
Yeah,
you're not defeated right away. A lot of people, especially athletes, going from high school athletics, being the best on the team, to college, where everyone is either as good as you or better than you, and then a lot of people easily just sit and stay defeated, and then when you look at things differently, boom, you can end up like Jordan,
Your version.
Exactly.
Your version of Jordan.
Yeah. It's possible for everybody, and the steps that people have to take are all out there. It's just not very many people are willing to let go of that. Oh, it's never going to work. It'll never be me. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm not perfect by any means, right? We all have things that we suffer from or whatever, but it is possible. And the steps to achieve it are focusing on the solution and less on the problem. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, on that note, we can conclude the quote of the day. Edom, if you could read it back.
If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change.
That's on everything. Definitely. So on that note, we'll conclude the second segment, and then we'll go into segment 3. We'll go more in depth into wholesaling and real estate, talking about a little bit more numbers, how to find deals, and things like that. So stay tuned. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to segment 3 of the Everybody Eats podcast. And we're here again with Randy Cadely, Edom Ekpe on the line. So we're about to get into some wholesaling, some real estate, talking about how that works and get into those details. So the first deal that we went over a little bit before about your first deal, and you were saying you bought it for 58 and sold it for 62. So if you could just walk us through, so before you even get to that point, right, how do you even, for those either don't know what wholesaling is or want to get into wholesaling, right, how do you even get into finding the property? Like, what's that like very first step before you even finding that 58K deal?
Sure. So at the end of the day, what you're doing is picking up discounted property and selling it to people who are willing to pay more than what you got it for. So now the question is, how do I find people that want to sell me their houses for 50 cents on the dollar? That's the whole name of the game. So what you want to do is track people who will more than likely sell you their house at the price that you want it for. So the people that we target are absentee owners, people who own the house but don't live in it. We target people who are defaulting on their property tax. We target people who are not taking care of their property, so they have liens on their property from the city for overgrown grass or whatever. We target people who are going into pre-foreclosure, and the way we target them is either by sending them letters, or calling them. And you want to call as many people as possible, and you want to send as many letters as you can afford to send to increase the likelihood of you actually getting a deal. So that's how you solve that first part of the equation. Finding the property. You get the calls, you talk to the people, you negotiate at the price that you need it for, and then you find the investors that will then turn around and buy it.
Got it. So those investors, when you're finding those investors and you're looking at the deals, that's where the double close and assignment comes into play?
Sure. Yes, that's where the double closing assignments come into play. And to take it further, finding the investors, right? There are a lot of different ways where you can find the investors. The first thing I do whenever I pick up a property, it doesn't matter where it is. I could pick up a property in Arizona, California, doesn't matter. The first thing I do once I feel like I have a deal is I look a half a mile to a mile away, and I look for people who are doing business in the area. Before I even call my guys, people that I know would take it, I look for investors that are doing business right where I have the property. And I can find those investors on property records, right? I can take a look to see who's bought and sold the house within the last 6 months, or who's bought and sold the house within 6 months, I should say, or within a year. I'll find that guy because it's an easier sell, right? Look, I have a product that you're familiar with. Like, you flipped the house down the street and made $30,000. I have the same house. If I can get in contact with that guy, he's gonna take it. He's gonna take it off my hands. What I mean? So I like to start with those guys first. And you can find their phone numbers typically on white pages or Googling their phone number. You might hit a couple dead phone numbers first, but eventually you find that guy. And then he'll more than likely buy it from you. And then I'll fall through my list of people who I think might buy it as well.
Got it. So I'm assuming that list that you have, that just comes with time and experience of these people.
Come with time, yeah. When you're in this business, information and data is gold. You never throw anything away. I have people in my phone that I've done business with I haven't done business with in 3 years, but I still have their phone number and communicate with them every once in a while because you never know, right? what I do is whenever I pick up a deal, I first find the local investors that are flipping or buying in that area, and then I'll email it to everybody that I've ever done real estate investing with, because you never know what they're interested in. So the more you spend time in the business, the bigger your network gets, and you want to store everybody that you've ever done business with for that purpose, so that you can do later business with them.
Got you. So like email list, like, hey, I got this house, first come, first serve.
And first serve, you better get it now, before it's too late. Whatever I got to do, because at the end of the day, it's marketing. You got to get as much eyes on your product as possible.
Yeah.
So I'll email it. I'll send a mass text to everybody. That's typically what I do if the first step hasn't worked. If I haven't been able to find anybody locally that would take it off my hands, I'll just email every single person.
Got it. Okay. So, you hear this, or at least I've heard this phrase a lot, driving for dollars, right? So, what would you say, what does that mean to you, and like, how do you do that, if you do?
Driving for dollars works. All strategies work. Some strategies are going to take more time and are going to require more energy and others. So it's like the more money you spend, the less you have to work.
Yeah.
The less money you spend, the more you have to work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you don't have anyone you can drive for dollars, I've made money driving for dollars.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I didn't go out with the intention of driving for dollars. I was driving and I just paid attention to houses that looked like they needed somebody's help. Now, obviously, like the grass is overgrown or windows are busted out or boarded. I'm like, all right, let me call this guy because I think he obviously has a problem, and I can be the solution for it.
Yeah.
I can take the property off his hands at a discount.
Yeah.
And do what I need to do. So I think I picked up a house one time. It's crazy. I was on my way to a house that my business partner and I got under contract, and on my way to that house, I saw a house that had been burned down, and it looked like it had been sitting there for a while. I look up who the owner is, and I sent them a letter. He called me, and we negotiated. I told him I'd give him $10,000 for the house. He said okay, and I found somebody else the same day to buy it for me for $20.
Just like that.
just paying attention.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's I have the network, right? I know who to call.
Yeah.
I know my guy would take this from me for a pretty decent penny. So if I can get the seller to get on the same page with me, then I can make some money.
Got it. Okay. So then, I guess that kind of goes back. I was going to say, if you don't have that network, how do you do that? But that goes back to that first tactic you said of being able to just Google who's done business in the area, and that can start like that network there.
Right. And technically, you don't even have to wait, because there are two sides to the business. There's buyers and sellers. If you're trying to find sellers, typically selling the deal, if you have a real deal, isn't going to be a problem. If it's a really good deal.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to build your buyers list, you don't have to wait. You just find a neighborhood, look on property records, if you can, for people. Florida is very good in that. All this information is public. I'm not sure what it is like in other states.
Yeah.
But I can see anybody who's bought a house and sold it within the last 6 months. So if somebody who's just walking in and wants to build their cash buyer network, pick a neighborhood, look at the investor activity, and find those guys. Say, hey, look, I'm in real estate wholesale. I find cheap deals all the time. Should I call you when I have a really good deal? Like, do you want me to call you?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they'll say yes.
Yeah.
And you just build that list, list. And then eventually when you do find a deal, half the problem's already solved. You have the people to buy it. Now you're just looking for the deal. So.
Got it.
That's dope.
Yeah, you have anything else?
No.
Yeah, okay. So I was
and what's really cool is that you learn the most about investing from other investors.
Yeah.
Right? Like having the conversations with them, asking them, hey, so I'm looking for these deals for you. Tell me what you like in the deal. What kind of return do you like? What should I know about it? You're picking things up for your own investing one day.
Yeah.
And you start to be able to talk the language that they speak, it makes it easier for you to find them that deal because you know what they like and don't like.
Got it. So outside of wholesaling, there's different tactics. There's like buy and hold, buy and flip, and I guess you could say buy and flip is similar to that, like double close you mentioned before. So, do you mainly focus on wholesaling? Like, could you speak pretty much on like buy and hold and those tactics and strategies that you've used out there in Central Florida?
Sure. Well, the way I see it is wholesale is money right now.
Yeah.
Money right now, cash in the bank. Flipping is money a little later, and rentals is money forever. Right? So depending on where you are in your investing journey, it might make sense for you to do one or the other. If you work at Target or wherever, it doesn't make sense, in my opinion. Everybody's got a different strategy, but in my opinion, I think you have a cash problem. You don't have really a cash flow problem. You need more capital, right? So for that person, I would tell them, hey, focus on wholesale. Let's get some change up. You know what I mean? Let's get some money in your bank, and then you could focus on the money later by flipping, increase more capital, and then once you have enough capital, buy all the rentals you want.
Got it.
To solidify the capital.
Yeah. It's like that diversify, kind of like that.
It's diversify.
Yeah.
I think a good investor. Everybody's definition of investing and what a good investor is different, but I think a good investor utilizes all the strategies. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever stop wholesaling because once you acquire the knowledge base, it's not difficult. And as an investor, if you're going to be looking for rentals and flips anyway, right? The deals that you don't want, you wholesale.
Got it. So how long?
Go ahead.
So I was gonna say, how long is that period between buying and selling in wholesaling?
In wholesaling,
yeah.
The closing typically takes 3 to 4 weeks in Florida. I don't know, how long it takes in other states, but 3 weeks, 4 weeks typically is all it takes.
Okay. Because I remember a few weeks back when we had that conversation, you said that I think like you made a deal from your desk for like $5,000, didn't even like in one day. So like if you could speak about that, yeah.
Sure. So that's going under contract.
Okay.
Right? But the actual closing takes like 3 weeks. That deal I told you about just closed yesterday.
Got you. Okay.
So yeah, just to give you a little backstory, like the story I was telling Bensky, because my network, because I know so many local investors, I saw a deal on another wholesaler's list.
Okay.
It was a different wholesaler, right?
Yeah.
And he had emailed me this deal. I think it was for $52,000 or something like that. I think it was like 50. No, he was asking 62. He was asking I think 62,000, something like that. And I'm like, man, I think I could sell this deal. I called him. I told him I'll give him 50 for it. And we went back and forth, and we landed at 52. I called my guy, the guy I knew that would like this house, and I negotiated with him and sold it to him for 57. So I went under contract with the guy who sent me the deal for 52, signed it, turned around, signed the contract with my buyer for 57. This was all in one day. All in one day. And it just closed. Yeah, so the closing, you have to do title search, your lien search, the title company handles all that.
Yeah.
And they contact all the players involved and make sure everybody's on the same page to schedule a closing. And that typically takes like 3 to 4 weeks from the time you sign the contract to actually get paid.
Got you. Okay. So then once it closes, that's when the money hits the account.
Once it closes, that's when the money hits the account.
Got it. Okay. Man. Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
What's the most fun you had doing this? Like your most fun?
The most fun I had. My company had a really, really good month profit-wise. And with that money, we took our entire office on basically an adult field trip. We rented a Sprinter.
Yes, sir.
We rented a Sprinter for the team, and we did go-karts. And we did some type of, I think, paintball thing, and we ended the night like at a strip club or something.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, no. Hard work deserves hard rewards. You know? So we congratulate the team on the job.
Yeah. Okay. How big is the team? Right now.
Right now, it's me and my business partner, and I have three guys that sell deals, buy and sell deals for.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's all under one.
All under one. This is the wholesale company.
Yeah.
The wholesale company, we have my business partner and I who own it, and then the 3 sales agents.
Got it. Okay. So, what would you say goals are for the future? Whether it's personal, whether it's for the business. I know everyone's gonna say grow, but do you have anything specific? Like, one time I got asked, one of our guests, he was like, "What's your conceited goal? Like, what would you say is like your conceited goal, or something that you really want to see happen for the team?"
My conceited goal, like no limits. I eventually want to go into commercial real estate.
Okay.
I want to own apartments and commercial plazas maybe after that. And my end goal, if I have to put a number on it, I'm shooting for $30,000 a month in residual cash flow.
Okay.
Right? Like, if number was like not a factor or whatever. I mean, you could always go bigger, but I think $30,000 a month in passive income.
Got it. Okay. Can you wholesale commercial stuff? That'd be harder, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You can? Okay.
Yeah. It takes a little longer and it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, complicated in that, to sell the deal, I mean, you're selling the numbers, but the way the investor is going to look at the numbers are a little different than, your guy who's looking to fix and flip or, rent.
Got it.
It's just a little bit more critical, but you can do it.
Got it. All right. So, Edom, do you have any final points you want to make? Any questions?
I think everybody has their own answer for this. And I've been seeing a lot of saw an article today about it. But what's your personal, theory or thought on how COVID's going to leave your field, the effect it's going to have?
That's a good question. And like you said, everybody's going to have a different answer. I personally don't think COVID-19 is going to affect the real estate market like that. It depends. If we stay in this quarantine position, this holding pattern for a prolonged period of time, if people are not working and not making money, that's less people to buy houses. So that means there's less people buying for me to flip houses because they're afraid that there's going to be no end buyer on the other side. If we do go back to work and Americans are able to go back to their jobs and make money and buy houses, I don't see COVID-19 being that big of an issue in real estate.
Got it.
What I do see being a big problem in real estate, I think what might eventually cause like some type of correction in the market is wages. Because inflation and appreciation, housing prices are getting so they're increasing so fast. People are having a hard time affording them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, to give you an example, there's like a C-class neighborhood in Orlando. C-class meaning like you're not in the hood, but you don't want to walk around in that.
Yeah.
I used to sell C-class properties in this neighborhood for like, $50,000, so that the investor could sell it for $100 later on down the line. Now that same house, I have to sell to the investor for $100,000, so he could sell it for 160, 170.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've only been in real estate for maybe 6 years, so that means prices have gone up, dramatically in that time.
Yeah.
But wages have stayed the same.
Yeah.
So now these people were trying to buy, they were qualifying for $100,000 house. Now you're asking the same people to qualify for 170, 180.
Yeah.
They're not
gonna happen.
suddenly more money.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna get so difficult up to the point where either wages are gonna go up, which is not likely,
yeah,
or housing prices are going to have to come down so that business can keep going. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But everybody has their own views of real estate.
Definitely. So, we'll see. I figured, I know in New York and like a lot of places are having like rent strikes, like, oh, we're not paying rent. So I was wondering, like, when it comes to people who, like, if you're a landlord, right, you have a property and
well, that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing. The rent part of it is something else. There's a lot of landlords. I know somebody who owns Airbnbs, and they took a big hit.
Yeah.
Because your business model needs people to go on vacation.
Yeah.
You know.
I heard about that. The Airbnb's taking the biggest hit, probably more than airlines are with this.
Yeah, because the thing is, you didn't buy off of cash flow. You bought off of speculation. You know, those investors purchased the house knowing that, hey, as long as people are traveling and want to go to Disney World, they're gonna pay, you know, $300-400 a night to stay in my house. And then COVID-19 happens, right?
Yeah.
Now nobody's traveling anywhere.
Yeah.
And you bought the house, and nobody's gonna pay $3,000 a month in rent or whatever it is that you need to make sure that you're still cash flowing.
Yeah.
So you just lose it. You know what I mean? So those guys are gonna get hit. But you know, like for my properties, I had like 1 or 2 tenants that didn't pay rent. You know, I expected it. And I think eventually things will correct themselves. You know what I mean? And luckily, my rentals are in the bottom of the market, right? So my rents are like $600 or $700 a month.
Yeah.
Somebody's always going to be able to pay $600 or $700 a month, right? Like, you know, that's my idea behind it. Versus your renters at $2,000, $2,500 or whatever it is when the economy goes down or when something like this happens and people struggle to find that money. Those are the people that are more likely to default, I think. You know
Yeah. Definitely not. I didn't really think about that. It does make sense. So,
yeah, I like investing in I invest in the hood. You know what I mean? Like in like low class or, you know, C class properties. For that reason, you know, investing doesn't have to be. Investing is always risky, but it doesn't have to be, right? Like you can set up safeguards to make it less risky. And you know, I think you do that by spending as little bit of money on the property as possible and maximizing as much rent as you can. Again, knowing that, you know, like $600, $700, $800 a month, somebody's always going to be able to afford that. So COVID-19 breaks and your tenants can't pay rent, you can get a job at, you know, Target or, you know, Walmart or wherever and find a way to make your rent pay versus the person at $2,500, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah.
That stimulus check doesn't come in time.
Yeah.
You're not getting rent.
Yeah, it's true.
So you know, luxury rentals are cool, but you know, you just gotta make sure that you're playing it smart.
Definitely. That's some gems for anyone listening out there. So definitely that's some tips that they could take for sure. So yeah, on that note, I just want to thank you for joining us today. How could people find you if they want to learn more about wholesale?
I'm on Facebook at Randy Cadely.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram at Arcade12, RCADE12. Yeah, just hit me anytime if you guys have any questions or anything.
All right, definitely. So for all our listeners, I want to thank you for, you know, listening to today's episode. Thank you very much, Randy.
No problem.
Man, stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, make sure you're calling your loved ones, stay positive, all that good stuff. So, peace. Thank you for coming. See you guys next week.